Stop scrolling. Yes, you. This is not a coincidence. You didn't click this by accident. You were led here. Because heaven saw your silent battles, the nights you cried without words, the weight you carry that no one understands. You've been asking, God, do you see me? And today, this is your answer. You feel tired, misunderstood, out of place in rooms where you once belonged, doors closed, people changed, and the silence felt louder than the storm. But what if I told you none of it was random? Every delay, every betrayal, every lonely moment, preparation. You thought you were falling apart, but you were being set apart. Right now, at this exact moment, God is pulling you closer, not because you are weak, but because you are chosen. And what you're about to hear will change everything. You thought I abandoned you. You thought the silence meant distance. You thought the empty room meant you were forgotten. But listen carefully, I never left. I pulled you away. I know how it felt. The unanswered calls, the friendships that slowly faded, the rooms that once felt warm suddenly turning cold. You kept asking, why am I so alone? You thought it was punishment. You thought you did something wrong. You thought you were being pushed out. But you were being pulled in. There are seasons when I remove noise so you can finally hear me. Seasons when I separate you from crowds so you can discover who you are without their voices. Because the truth is, you were becoming dependent on places I never called home. You call it isolation. I call it preparation. If they had stayed, you would have stayed the same. If those doors had remained open, you would have never walked toward the ones I built for you. If the noise had continued, you would have never heard my whisper guiding your next step. I saw what you couldn't see. I saw the environments draining your spirit. I saw the people who loved your comfort but feared your calling. I saw how your light was shrinking just to fit into spaces too small for your destiny. So I did what felt painful but was necessary. I removed distractions. I cleared the room. I quieted the voices. Not to hurt you, but to grow you. Because seeds don't grow in crowds. They grow in the dark, hidden, buried alone. And just like a seed, you mistook the soil for a grave. But it was never a burial. It was planting. Every lonely night was strengthening your roots. Every tear was watering your growth. Every silent moment was building the version of you that the world is not ready for yet. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. You remember the moments, the doors that closed in your face, the opportunities that slipped through your fingers, the conversations that ended with silence instead of celebration. You called it rejection. You called it failure. You called it heartbreak. But I called it protection. I saw the tears you tried to hide when they chose someone else. I heard the questions echo in your heart. Why not me? What did I do wrong? You searched for flaws in yourself, replayed every word, every step, every decision, trying to understand why you weren't accepted. What you didn't know was this: I was standing between you and doors that would have slowly destroyed you. Not every place that welcomes you is meant to keep you. Not every opportunity that shines is meant to grow you. And not every person who smiles at you is meant to walk your journey. You were asking for acceptance, while I was guarding your assignment. You thought the closed doors meant you were unworthy. But the truth is, some rooms could never hold the weight of your calling. Some tables were never built for the purpose inside you. Some environments would have celebrated your presence, but suffocated your destiny. You begged to stay where I saw danger. You cried over places that were quietly draining your spirit. You mourned connections that were slowly shrinking your future. So I said no, and my no felt like rejection. Because protection rarely feels gentle in the moment. It feels like loss. It feels like confusion. It feels like standing outside while everyone else walks in. But what you didn't see were the conversations you were never part of. The betrayals you were spared from. The compromises you would have been pressured to make. The version of yourself you would have had to abandon just to belong. I love you too much to let you trade your destiny for acceptance. You were not overlooked. You were redirected. Every closed door turned your steps. Every no changed your path. Every rejection shifted your direction towards something greater. And one day, you will stand in a place where you don't have to shrink, where you don't have to beg, where you don't have to prove your worth. A place where your presence makes sense, where your spirit feels at home, where your purpose finally has room to breathe. You will realize then, those painful goodbyes were not endings, they were rescue missions. You keep asking, why is everything so hard? Why simple things feel like uphill battles? Why peace never seems to last? Why the moment you begin to move forward, resistance rises from nowhere? You thought it was bad luck. You thought it was stress. You thought life was just being unfair. But the truth is deeper than what your eyes can see. The battles around you are spiritual, because your calling is spiritual. You are not fighting ordinary struggles. You are standing in the middle of an unseen war, a war over your focus, your faith, your identity, your purpose. Have you noticed? The distractions appear right when you're about to grow. The doubt whispers right when you start believing. The chaos rises right when you begin finding peace. That is not coincidence. When your purpose is ordinary, resistance is light. But when your purpose carries light, resistance multiplies. Because darkness does not fear noise. It fears awakening. And you are awakening. You wondered why you've faced battles others don't understand. Why your mind feels like a battlefield some days. Why you've had to fight just to hold on to hope. It's because what lives inside you threatens what tries to surround you. You carry influence you haven't even discovered yet. You carry strength you haven't fully used yet. You carry a voice that will break chains you haven't seen yet. And anything powerful attracts opposition before it reveals impact. Think about the storms that hit your life. The sudden setbacks. The unexpected discouragement. The heavy waves of doubt that seemed to appear out of nowhere. You thought you were falling apart, but you were under attack. Not because you are weak, but because you are dangerous to the darkness. There is a reason distractions chase you, a reason fear visits you, a reason discouragement knocks louder at your door than it does for others. It's not random, it's resistance to your rise. Because when you step into who you are meant to be, chains break. When you speak, someone finds hope. When you stand, someone else finds courage. When you keep going, someone else learns they can survive too. Your life carries ripple effects far beyond what you see today. That is why the battle feels intense. That is why the pressure feels heavy. That is why the fight feels personal. But hear this clearly. You were never sent into this battle unarmed. You were never placed in this storm unprepared. You were never chosen without being equipped. The war around you only confirms one thing. Your calling is real. You keep asking, why so much pressure? Why the weight never seems to lift? Why the expectations feel heavier than your strength? Why life keeps demanding more when you already feel stretched thin? You wondered if it meant you were breaking. But listen to me carefully. Pressure was never sent to crush you. It was allowed to reveal you. I would never allow weight on you without first placing strength within you. I would never allow fire around you without placing endurance inside you. I would never allow the storm to rise if I knew you could not survive the waves. You see pressure as proof that you are weak. I see pressure as proof that you are ready. Because power that is never tested remains hidden. Strength that is never stretched remains unknown. Faith that is never challenged remains shallow. And you were never created to stay shallow. Think about the moments you felt like giving up. The days when everything demanded your energy at once. The seasons where responsibilities piled higher than your confidence. The nights when you whispered, I can't do this anymore. Yet you did. You kept breathing. You kept standing. You kept moving forward even when your steps felt heavy. You call that survival. I call that power awakening. Pressure exposes what comfort hides. It reveals the courage you didn't know you had, the resilience you never saw in yourself, the strength you only discover when retreat is no longer an option. If life had stayed easy, you would have stayed small. If everything had gone smoothly, you would have never discovered your depth. If the path had stayed gentle, you would have never learned how strong your footing truly is. Diamonds are not created in comfort. They are formed under pressure, hidden, compressed, forged in darkness until their brilliance can no longer be contained. You thought the pressure meant you were being punished, but you were being refined. Every heavy season strengthened your endurance. Every overwhelming moment expanded your capacity. Every time you thought you reached your limit, you discovered a new level within you. You are stronger now than the version of you who first entered this storm, wiser, deeper, more resilient, and the power growing inside you is greater than the pressure surrounding you. You are not being crushed. You are being forged. Because what I placed inside you is powerful enough to carry what lies ahead. You've seen what pain can do to people. You've watched it steal their hope. You've watched it change their hearts. You've watched storms take others down and never let them rise again. And deep inside, a quiet fear whispered to you, "What if this breaks me too?" Because the weight you've carried has been heavy. The loss is real, the disappointment's sharp, the nights long and silent. There were moments you felt yourself bending under the pressure, wondering how much more you could take. Moments you questioned your strength. Moments you questioned your future. Moments you questioned me. You thought the storm was the end of your story. But I was writing the middle. What broke others will become the testimony that builds you. You see destruction. I see transformation. You see the wreckage. I see the foundation. Because the storm that destroys one person can awaken another. The fire that consumes one life can refine another. The valley that feels like an ending can become the birthplace of purpose. You were never meant to walk through this pain and remain the same. You were meant to walk through it and rise different, stronger, wiser, unshakable. Think about how much you've already survived. The heartbreaks you thought would end you. The setbacks that knocked the air out of your lungs. The seasons when everything felt uncertain at once. You're still here, still breathing, still hoping, still moving forward even when your steps feel slow. That is not weakness, that is proof. Proof that what tried to break you could not finish the job. Because while the storm was raging around you, something was growing inside you. Endurance, depth, compassion, strength that comfort could never teach. Pain-carved spaces inside your heart that joy will one day fill. Struggles stretched your faith in ways ease never could. Your wounds created empathy that will one day heal others. One day, someone will stand where you once stood, lost, tired, convinced the storm will never end, and your story will become their light. They will see your strength and realize survival is possible. They will hear your voice and find courage to keep going. They will witness your journey and discover hope again. What you thought was the end will become evidence of your resilience. What you thought was your breaking point will become your turning point. What you thought was your weakest chapter will become your loudest testimony. The storm did not choose you to destroy you. It chose you to reveal you. And the very thing you feared would break you will one day be the reason others believe they can survive too. You keep looking at the clock, watching time move forward while your life feels paused. Watching others celebrate milestones you've been praying for. Watching doors open for them while yours remain closed. And the question keeps echoing in your heart. Why is it taking so long? You call it delay. You call it being left behind. You call it missed chances and lost time. But what if the waiting was never wasted? Your delays were my way of aligning perfect timing. I know how the waiting feels. Like standing at a train station long after the crowd has left. Like holding a ticket while the platform stays silent. Like wondering if your train is ever coming at all. You thought the silence meant denial. You thought the pause meant abandonment. You thought the stillness meant nothing was happening. But timing is not measured by what you see. It is shaped by what you don't. While you were waiting, pieces were moving. Paths were shifting. People were being positioned. Lessons were being planted. Strength was being built quietly beneath the surface. You were looking for movement in front of you, while I was creating movement around you. If certain doors had opened earlier, you would have walked through them unprepared. If certain opportunities had arrived sooner, they would have overwhelmed you. If certain blessings had appeared too early, they would have become burdens instead. You begged for acceleration, but acceleration without preparation leads to collapse. You thought you were ready because you were eager, but readiness is not proven by desire, it is proven by endurance. The waiting stretched your patience, the silence deepened your faith, the uncertainty strengthened your resilience. You were growing roots while praying for branches, building foundation while asking for elevation, developing strength while longing for success. Because what is coming into your life is not small, it is not temporary, it is not fragile, and things meant to last must be built slowly. A seed planted today does not become a tree tomorrow. It grows unseen first, roots spreading through darkness before branches reach the light, stability forming before visibility appears. You mistook the underground season for stagnation, but you were taking root. Every delay protected you from rushing into the wrong season. Every pause prevented you from stepping into places too early. Every waiting moment aligned the right people, the right opportunities, the right timing. One day, the doors will open quickly. The momentum will feel sudden. The breakthrough will feel overnight. And you will wonder how everything changed so fast. But it will not be sudden. It will be the result of every silent moment, every patient step, every unseen adjustment made along the way. Nothing about your journey is late. Nothing about your story is behind schedule. You are not waiting for your life to begin. You are standing in the middle of divine timing. And when the moment arrives, you will understand this truth. The wait was not a delay. It was perfect alignment. You've felt it, haven't you? The sudden wait, the unexpected resistance, the strange wave of challenges that seemed to arrive all at once. It felt like life turned against you overnight. As if the moment you gathered courage, everything began pushing back. You asked, why now? Why when you were finally gaining clarity? Why when you were finally finding strength? Why when you were finally starting to believe again? Because the attacks increased. Not because you are losing, but because your breakthrough is close. Storms don't intensify when nothing is changing. Resistance doesn't rise when nothing is moving. Battles don't grow louder when no progress is being made. Pressure increases when you are approaching impact. You thought the sudden obstacles meant you were on the wrong path. But the truth is, resistance often appears when you are finally on the right one. Think about the timing of the battles, the doubt that arrived when your confidence started growing, the distractions that appeared when your focus became clear, the discouragement that knocked the moment hope began to rise. That is not coincidence, that is confirmation. Because breakthroughs are rarely quiet moments, they are often preceded by intense resistance. Just before dawn, the night is darkest. Just before the storm ends, the wind roars the loudest. Just before the door opens, opposition stands in the doorway. You are not under attack because you are weak. You are under attack because you are close. Close to clarity, close to change, close to stepping into the version of yourself you've been becoming all along. The closer you get, the louder the voices of doubt try to sound. The closer you get, the heavier discouragement tries to feel. The closer you get, the more distractions try to steal your focus. Because the final steps are the most powerful. You've already survived the beginning. You've already endured the middle. You've already proven your resilience through storms that should have stopped you. Now you are approaching the turning point, and turning points attract resistance. The pressure you feel right now is not a signal to quit. It is a signal to hold on tighter, to stand firmer, to keep moving even when the wind pushes back. Because breakthrough does not arrive quietly. It arrives after the final wave of resistance. You are not falling apart. You are breaking through. And the intensity of the battle is proof that the victory is near. You wondered why your life felt unseen, why your efforts went unnoticed, why your growth happened in silence while others were celebrated in public. You questioned the quiet seasons, the slow progress, the hidden chapters no one applauded. You asked, why am I always behind the scenes? But you were never forgotten. You were being hidden. Because your assignment requires strength. Not the kind of strength that grows in applause. Not the kind that forms under constant validation, but the kind built in silence, in solitude, in moments when no one is watching and quitting feels easy. Public victories are sustained by private preparation, and the weight of what you are called to carry cannot be supported by shallow roots. If you had been seen too early, the pressure would have crushed you. If recognition had arrived too soon, the expectations would have overwhelmed you. If the spotlight had found you before the strength did, the fall would have been heavy. So I kept you hidden. While you were wishing to be noticed, you were being trained. While you were longing for recognition, you were building resilience. While you were asking for opportunity, you were developing endurance. Hidden seasons are not empty seasons. They are construction zones, quiet growth, deep strengthening, invisible progress that prepares you for visible purpose. Think about the skills you gained in silence, the wisdom you developed through hardship, the patience you learned through waiting, the strength you discovered through struggle. These were not accidents, they were preparation. Because what you are called to carry will require stability. What you are called to face will require courage. What you are called to lead will require unshakable confidence. And strength like that cannot be rushed. A tree that grows too quickly cannot survive strong winds, but one that grows slowly develops roots deep enough to stand through storms. You were growing roots. Every unseen effort strengthened your foundation. Every unnoticed victory built your resilience. Every quiet step forward prepared you for the moment when hiding ends and purpose begins. You were never overlooked. You were being made ready. You remember the confusion, the moments when nothing made sense, the plans that suddenly stopped working, the path that once felt clear becoming foggy and uncertain. You stood at crossroads you never planned to face. Doors you expected to walk through disappeared. Directions you trusted no longer felt right. And you asked, why is everything so unclear? You thought confusion meant you were lost. You thought uncertainty meant you had failed. You thought the chaos meant your life was falling apart. But what felt like confusion was me rewriting your direction. You were following a map that could only take you so far. A path built from old dreams, old expectations, old versions of yourself. And when the time came to move towards something greater, the old road could not continue. So the clarity you relied on began to fade. Because sometimes, before a new path appears, the old one must disappear. If the way forward had stayed obvious, you would have kept walking toward a future too small for who you were becoming. If the signs had stayed familiar, you would have never searched for new direction. If certainty had remained, you would have never learned to trust beyond what you could see. You call it confusion. I call it redirection. I know how unsettling it felt. The unanswered questions, the sudden changes, the feeling of standing still while everything shifted around you. You wanted clear answers, but instead you received silence. Not because there was no plan, but because the plan was changing. You were being gently turned toward a new horizon. Every closed path removed distractions. Every unexpected turn adjusted your steps. Every moment of uncertainty loosened your grip on what was never meant to last. You were being guided away from what you thought you wanted, toward what you were truly created for. Transformation rarely feels comfortable. Growth rarely feels clear in the moment, and redirection often feels like losing your way before finding it. But confusion has a purpose. It forces you to pause, to reflect, to release what no longer fits, to become open to what is coming next. You were not wandering aimlessly. You were being repositioned carefully. One day, the fog will lift, the pieces will connect, the path will make sense in ways you cannot see today, and you will realize the truth. You were never lost. You were being led somewhere new. You've watched others move ahead, seen opportunities land in their hands, heard applause that never seemed to echo your name, and quietly, you wondered, did I get forgotten? You tried not to say it out loud, but you felt it deep inside, like you were standing in the background of your own life while everyone else took the stage. You called it being overlooked. You called it being left behind. You called it invisibility. But you were never overlooked. You were being strategically positioned. There is a difference between being ignored and being placed, between being forgotten and being prepared, between being delayed and being aligned. You were watching moments. I was arranging movements, because where you are going cannot be reached by rushing. It cannot be sustained by luck. It cannot be built on unstable ground. It requires precision. Like pieces on a chessboard, every step has meaning. Every pause has purpose. Every shift changes the outcome of the entire game. You wanted immediate progress, but I was designing lasting impact. If certain opportunities had arrived earlier, you would have stepped into rooms before the right people were there. If recognition had come sooner, you would have been surrounded by the wrong expectations. If the spotlight had found you too early, it would have revealed you before your foundation was strong enough to hold the weight. You thought nothing was happening, but behind the scenes, everything was moving. People were being placed in your future. Paths were being cleared in your direction. Obstacles were being removed before you even knew they existed. Timing was being synchronized in ways you could not see. Your position was being prepared before your arrival. Because what is meant for you is not temporary. It is not fragile. It is not accidental. It is intentional. You were never meant to chase your destiny in chaos. You were meant to step into it at the exact moment it could fully hold you. One day, the shift will happen quickly, the doors will open, the recognition will come, the opportunities will align, and it will feel sudden to you. But it will not be sudden. It will be the result of careful positioning. You are not waiting in the background of your story. You are standing in the perfect place for the next chapter to begin, and suddenly, something begins to shift inside you. The pain doesn't look the same anymore. The memories don't feel the same anymore. The questions that once haunted you start to lose their power. You begin to see it. The nights that broke you built you. The doors that closed redirected you. The silence that hurt you protected you. Piece by piece, the puzzle starts forming a picture you never saw before. You realize you weren't just surviving, you were being shaped. Every tear trained your heart to endure. Every disappointment strengthened your faith muscles. Every lonely season stripped away distractions so your spirit could grow stronger. You thought life was taking from you, but heaven was preparing you. Preparing your mind to think differently, preparing your heart to carry more, preparing your spirit to stand when others fall. You weren't being punished, you were being positioned. All the moments that felt like setbacks were actually setups. All the delays that felt cruel were actually protection. All the confusion that felt overwhelming was actually redirection. You were being guarded from battles you didn't see, shielded from paths that would have drained you, held back from timing that would have crushed you. And now you can feel it. Something is changing, something is awakening, something is rising inside you. The same pain that once made you feel weak now feels like fuel. The same struggles that once made you question your worth now feel like proof of your strength. You are beginning to understand. Nothing was wasted, nothing was random, nothing was meaningless. Every moment was preparation. And preparation always comes before activation. And now look at you. Still here, still breathing, still standing after everything that tried to take you down. You thought you were losing. You thought you were falling behind. You thought the silence meant abandonment. But through every storm, every tear, every night you thought you couldn't survive, I was there. I was there in the moments you felt completely alone. I was there when your heart felt too heavy to carry. I was there when your prayers felt like they hit the ceiling and fell back down in silence. You may not have felt me. You may not have seen me, but I never left you. Not once. Not for a second. When you cried in the dark, I stayed. When you questioned your purpose, I stayed. When you felt forgotten by the world, I stayed. I stayed when others walked away. I stayed when doors closed. I stayed when hope felt distant, because leaving you was never an option. Every step you took, even the shaky ones, I walked beside you. Every breath you fought to take, I strengthened your lungs. Every time you wanted to give up, I whispered, "Keep going." And you did. You are stronger now than you were before the storm. Wiser now than you were before the waiting. Braver now than you were before the battle. You survived what you once thought would end you, and that is not the end of your story. That is the beginning of your rise. The season of surviving is ending. The season of stepping forward is beginning. You are not the same person who started this journey. You carry strength you didn't have before, faith you didn't understand before, resilience you didn't know lived inside you. Everything you walked through has prepared you for what comes next. And what comes next requires courage. It requires faith that moves even when fear whispers. It requires strength that stands even when doubt speaks. It requires a heart that believes even when the path is not fully visible. You don't have to see the whole road. You only need the courage to take the next step, because the same hand that carried you through the storm is guiding you into the sunrise. Your story is not over. Your purpose is not lost. Your destiny is not delayed. It is waiting. Waiting for you to rise, waiting for you to believe again, waiting for you to step forward with the strength you fought so hard to build. You are not broken. You are rebuilt. You are not weak. You are refined. You are not forgotten. You are chosen. So stand up again, lift your head again, breathe deeply again. The battle did not defeat you. The storm did not erase you. The darkness did not win. You are still here, and that means your purpose is still alive.